Previously on 58 Keys. I do like saying that. I don't know why previously. Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and for the first time in 58 Keys, you and I are going to revisit a topic that's it's useful for us as writers who use Macs and iPhones and iPads. You don't need to have seen the original one because, well, we're going to improve it, really. Well, I say we. It's really viewers Jason Arnopp and Martin Sketchley, two writers who are improving this thing for both of us because of their joint recommendation they emailed me about. They had both seen the 58 Keys about recording interviews and transcribing them afterwards. I like that episode. In fact, actually, I'll make sure I include a link for you down below. And everything in it is true. But about half of it can now be much better. I'll tell you that if you don't already know of this thing I'm going to show you, and I didn't, then what I'm going to show you now about how to transcribe interviews is going to seem perfect to you. But it isn't. What keeps it away from being perfection is so small, though, that if you weren't a writer, I don't think I'd even mention it. I mean, actually, if I weren't a writer, I don't think I would have noticed it. But you are, and I am. So let me tell you the great things first, so long as you then stick around for the teeny bit that isn't so great. Last time we covered this, you and I talked about transcription and also how to record interviews. And everything I said about recording interviews, I think that's all still perfectly true. I mean, I'm still using exactly the same equipment. But what has changed is that I have switched transcribing over to a service called Otter. It's a paid service with actually a very generous free tier. And I am either going to be brave or stupid now because Otter's been running on my Mac since we started talking, and here's what it's got so far. All right, that's tough. It's dictation, so of course it's never going to be completely accurate. But there's actually that bit there was actually better than I was expecting, and I was obviously expecting it to be good, or I wouldn't have been showing it to you. It's still recording, would you believe it? So just to be clear, stop now. While you and I talked, Otter was transcribing, and actually, in fact, I should have told you I was recording this, but I wanted you to be surprised. And I also wasn't certain that I had the nerve to look at what Otter did without checking it first before you. I'm thinking Blue Peter mistakes for some reason. Anyway, since we are looking, though, have a look at what we're looking at. Okay, so, yes, it's a transcription of what I've been saying, sure. And, well, not only is that the whole point, but it's so obviously the whole point that I think you'd be surprised if there were anything else to say. So be surprised. Look what happens if I click here. I mean, actually, if I weren't a writer, I don't think I would have noticed it. But service with actually a very generous free tier. And I was writing a feature yesterday based on an interview that I didn't conduct. I got Otter to transcribe it, and there was a word that it didn't make sense. According to the transcript, the automatic transcript through Otter, the interviewee had been talking about reasonable financing. I clicked on the paragraph just as you saw there, and it played back the audio of this guy I've never met, and there he was, audio from that moment, and that's how I could hear him actually say regional financing. Somewhat changed the article. I would have liked to show you that transcript and work through it, but it's confidential, it's an interview, you get it. So I need you all now to take my word on this as well. That particular interview, the one I didn't record myself, it was conducted by a producer, and she was with sound recorders and video editor. It was one person doing both. So 2 crew, 1 interviewee. Otter transcribed all of them. Every word from the producer asking the audio editor, how was the audio sounding? What is everything recording? Otter transcribed everything, and it very clearly and distinctly marked out each person in the transcript. It was often wrong. You would quite often get a paragraph where, when you then listen to the audio, which you see you just do, you could tell that these words were from the producer and these were for the interviewee. But for most of the time, each person was marked out clearly, and I love that. I mean, seriously, love it. If you've ever tried to pull off transcription via, say, the old drag and dictate system, well, you would have failed. but you would fail in part because that system couldn't handle more than one voice. Oh, I love Otter. Let me step back to show you how Otter was transcribing you and me as we talked, because it can do that. You can set it recording, and there's both the online version that you've just been seeing there, or there is an app for iPhones and iPads, so you can bring it along with you to the interview. I will not ever use it as my sole audio recorder, but equally, I now know I won't ever record an interview without using Otter at the same time on one of my devices. That doesn't explain though what happens with existing recordings. And while both Jason and Martin were very persuasive about how I should check out Otter, I only really did it when I was under the cosh. I was under a lot of pressure to get stuff finished. In the last couple of weeks, I've conducted something like a dozen phone interviews for 2 different clients, 2 weeks, over about 10 days, something like that. I also had to write up, as well as those, 10 really short articles that were based on these video interviews that other people had conducted. So, I lost track there. Let's call it 20 interviews that had to be conducted or not, but they all had to be transcribed and then used as the basis of about 20 articles. And quickly, please. I'm going to admit to you, I reached interview 17 before I couldn't take it anymore, the manual transcription. So I thought, right, I'll give you 5 minutes, I'll try this after the desperation, let's see how it is. But in that desperation, in that moment, in those 5 minutes, I wasn't about to go off and record another interview the way you saw there. I already had these recordings. So this is what you do with those. Here's an example of my recordings. I've got them in a folder here. Here is the front page of Otter.ai, and you see the import audio video button. You press the marked button, and then you just drag the files in and wait. You can drag in as many as you like, and then just, let it do what it does. I've already learned really that this is when you go make a cup of tea. But actually, make it quickly. Don't get any biscuits, because, you see now, you see that processing audio notice. You get a few of those as it's working through the recording. But that means you don't have to wait for the whole thing to be finished before you can start work yourself. You can just read, keep going, and it adds as it gets to it. And I think actually, incredibly quickly after you've uploaded the audio, astonishingly quickly, you can start reading and working on the transcript. It's all there like this. And when I took slightly longer than the 5 minutes, I had lunch instead of just a tea break, I knew when to come back to my Mac because Otter emailed me a notification as the transcription was completed. Where has this been all my life? When we last talked about this on 58 Keys, I reminded you of the kind of rule of thumb that transcribing an interview, you can bet that it takes 3 times longer than the actual interview did. Ask anyone who's done it a lot and they will tell you that, yeah, that's what everyone says. And they will also tell you that they think that's extremely generous and it took them much longer. I have transcribed, well, certainly hundreds of interviews. I'm more likely thousands. Some for articles, some for articles, some for background research, for fiction. Countless reasons to interview people. And compared to every one of them, though, Otter was faster. So much faster. Would it be disturbing if I told you I want to kiss? I'm not going to tell you that. No. Instead, actually, this might be embarrassing. I'm going to tell you this. When I worked on interview 17 of that particular set, it's a set where I was transcribing the interview and then writing an article about the person I interviewed. Article number 17 took me half the time that article 16 did. Half the time. And that was because I didn't have to transcribe it myself, but also because I had the ability to read through the text, looking for particular bits I knew I'd need. I think now, a reasonable thing to say, if I was transcribing your thoughts, it would be you're thinking about the price and what I said about this not being perfect. Let's do money first. And here's the thing, I am now paying for Otter, but I only had to do so because I wanted to show you that bit about uploading videos and audios to do it. You can do that for free, but there are limits. Otter will transcribe up to 600 minutes of audio in any given month, so that's
10 hours of it. Each of those transcriptions adding up to the 10 hours out, that itself is limited to 40 minutes. And here was the thing, you can only upload 3 audio or video files. That's the specific limit I had to pay to get over to show you, because I'd already uploaded 3 interviews before I knew I had to show this to you. If you pay a monthly fee, that 600 minutes then goes up to 6,000 minutes, so 100 hours. And the cap on each transcription is now 4 hours instead of 40 minutes. And most use to me, the limit of 3 uploads, that's gone. If you pay annually, the cost for all that is $100, which works out to $8.33 per month. I bought a month so that I could show you, and also because I have about another week where I'll be doing a few more interviews, but then I could well go 6 months before I do any more. So what I'm going to do is I will subscribe and cancel as I need. To do that, it costs $10 for each month that you want it, and it's up to you to remember to cancel before the month is over. So I've still got Disney Plus because I keep forgetting. One last thing about pricing. I have included a link to Otter down below, and I mean, you know I'm recommended it. I think you can read between the lines that I like Otter.ai. But if you do try Otter through my recommendation, through the link I give you, and then especially if you buy Otter through that link, I get some free minutes. I would like to thank you in advance. Truly, I can't thank Jason Arnopp and Martin Sketchley enough for emailing me about Otter. But I did say there was something that stops it being perfect. Actually, hang on. No, wait a minute. Let me check back and see how this works. Let's use this.
It isn't. What keeps it away from being perfection is so small, though, that if you weren't a writer, I don't think I'd even mention it. I mean, actually, if I weren't a writer, I don't think I would have noticed it. So let me tell you the great things first, so long as you then stick around for the teeny bit that isn't so great.
Thank you for sticking around for the teeny bit that wasn't so great. I mean, you're going to think this is pretty teeny, but it's a writing thing, and we need to talk about it. And actually, I'm only going to tell you this. Please keep it between us. I don't think I wrote up that article, interview number 17, as well as I did the ones before it. Now, I mean, look, it's a fine line. I wouldn't have delivered that article if I hadn't been happy enough with it. But I think that when you manually transcribe an interview yourself, as you listen to every word, as you type every word, as you wind back to check every word, you get to know the interview better. I think it's as if you're already writing the article in your head. I mean, you're not. You're trying not to do that. You are trying to be a pure vessel, a transcriber, and solely get the words from audio into text. But actually, you're sifting, editing, comparing, you're thinking. And I believe that the end result of the article, the book, or the novel that you're going to write, will be informed by this interview. It must be the better for all that thinking and editing in your head as you go. That said, without question, the best way to conduct interviews is, well, you do them one at a time. You prepare for an interview, you do the interview, and then you immediately transcribe it. That is the best. And I've put off transcribing just because it's a long job. And also, actually, in the last couple of weeks, there have been times when I've had to end one phone interview in order to go straight into the next. And after a few of those, back to back, you look at the pile of audio recordings. I mean, I have multiple audio recordings of this. There are 2 things I am absolutely certain of. One is I will do a better job if I transcribe interviews myself and immediately do it after the interview. But the other is that there is no possible way I'm ever going to do that again. That's it for 58 Keys this time. Please do check out Otter.ai. If it helps you as much as it helps me, I promise you will be ecstatic. Actually, then, while you're waiting, the few seconds or a minute maybe, for whatever it is, to transcribe your interviews, how about you fill in that time by doing the YouTube dance for me and hitting that subscribe button, would you? Because that really does help me. Also, check out the links below for links to this, but also a special one that will pop you on my writer's mailing list. There are lots of things going on there, and you and I talk a lot in 58 Keys about using this equipment to write. I think it's about time we got down to some actual writing, isn't it? Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you soon.